California was like this legendary paradise.
We obviously need to talk about Tom Petty because, you know, very sadly, this ended up being his last on-camera interview. It's so cool that you interviewed him in a guitar shop because that's a perfect environment for him. How did he become involved in this film?
Tom Petty's somebody maybe I had been around when I was younger, but everybody else in the film I know as an adult, really. I mean, I had known him and I had played him the record that we've been working on. And his excitement for it was pretty genuine, I felt, and then I started to wonder why we hadn't asked him to be a part of it. But then while listening to music, it was very clear that this was his music that he was a teenager to, and his understanding of it was superior to most people who learned it in retrospect. He was a teenager and it was very powerful to him. And that was obvious through his whole career. If you see the instruments he played, he covered So You Want to Be a Rock and Roll Star. And he was obviously a very vocal admirer of that music, so he was important to us to have in the film as you know, you have the people who were actually there, the creators, then you have people like myself of this generation who are, you know, we've researched, we've gone backwards and learned to appreciate the music, but then Tom Petty's generation was actually right there as teenagers, so we wanted that perspective too.
What memories do you have of, like, how long were you hanging out with him in this guitar shop? Can you tell me any anecdotes about, you know, an interview that, you know, quite sadly ended up being, it's historic now?
Yeah, I guess unfortunately that may be true. That was his last interview. You know, my recollection was that it was a great day. It was maybe the most fun of the days for me. Maybe that's because I was spending time with Tom Petty and being in a guitar store all at once. Two things I like a lot. But he seemed to have a really nice time. And obviously he was someone who couldn't just get in the car and go to a music store very often. So we'd close the store down and it was a good chance, even not on film, just walking around with him talking about the gear was pretty great.
I think some of the stuff that we captured that is not in the film, that in answer to your question, having Jakob and Tom walk around a guitar store that has all kinds of stuff, good stuff and bad stuff, is funny. Well,
He's pretty candid, he's pretty funny.
Their conversation about the bad stuff was...
Like bad instruments or bad music?
You know, look, when people are manufacturing effects and amps and instruments, they're for all kinds of music and all kinds of people, and sometimes the construction of things as we get, you know, more modern and more mass-produced aren't as good as other things, and so their comments were funny.
Is any of that stuff ever going to be maybe on a DVD or something as an director's cut, outtakes, extras? You know that the fans out there would love to see anything of that.
Not if I ever want to get a free pedal again.
How did it feel to watch, you know, in retrospect, this moment?
Well, it was obviously profound. I mean, it hadn't occurred to us that would be his last interview that was on camera, which is very unfortunate. Certainly wish that wasn't the case, but certainly grateful, and I'm glad that I believe that his last interview wasn't painful, that he actually had a good time, which for people like him or myself, it's not always, you know, enjoyable. And he was gracious to come down and talk about music that he was a fan of, you know, and he liked the music that we played for him, and he, you know, was kind enough to come down and give us a day, which is pretty cool.